He's the Colorado husband and dad accused of killing his wife on Mother's Day in 2020. Barry Morphew says he didn't do it.
Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please do whatever it takes to bring you back.
Now, newly unsealed documents are laying out what reportedly happened before his arrest last year. And we're learning that Barry Morphew allegedly did a full rebrand before he was apprehended and charged with murder. What he allegedly told a woman who he was living with in Arizona about who he was. We're on the case presented by Law&Crime. I'm Stewart. All right, let's get to this big update in the case of Barry Morphew and the search for justice in the death of his wife, Suzanne. Now, if you've been following this story, you know that this goes back years, specifically 6 years. Barry was arrested in 2021. Then you had a scandal caused by a local prosecutor that led to the charges being dropped in 2022. Then police rearrested him last year, and through it all, Barry says he didn't do it. Now, we have some new documents that reveal how investigators tracked Barry Morphew and accused him of concealing his identity from a woman who he was living with in Arizona at the time he was arrested. Now, before I get to that, and the newly set potential trial date, and when a jury could decide whether Morphew is guilty of killing Suzanne, I want to bring you up to speed on this case because it's wild. There are so many layers to this story that is just incredibly shocking. Now, let's go back to when all of this began. Frankly, let's go back to before it began in 2020, because prior to Mother's Day, nobody really knew the name Barry Morphew because it seemed like this was a normal guy living a pretty normal life. He was married to his wife, Suzanne. The couple had 2 daughters. They lived in Salida, Colorado, which if you've never heard of it, you've never been, it is a beautiful part of the West, a place that is hours away from the hustle and bustle of Denver. It is truly a paradise for people who love the outdoors. And the outdoorsy activity that Suzanne Morphew had gotten into in 2020 was mountain biking. And on Mother's Day that year, she decided to go for a ride. After several hours, her daughters, who were not home the weekend she went missing, they were concerned because their mom had not come back home and they hadn't heard from her, so they called police. Now, this is what deputies found. This is the body cam video of when they first responded to the Morphew home.
Are you?
Okay, so I'm the daughter's boyfriend.
Okay.
And I'm here to...
Is this your truck?
That's my truck.
Somebody should be driving. Never mind, I got something here. So you haven't seen the mom at all, have you?
Yep, so the 2 daughters are gone right now at the moment. The dad is in Denver for a job. And they text her because of Mother's Day, and they haven't heard. The text never went through, like it never delivered since this morning. And she's a big mountain biker. She normally takes her car, and her bike's normally in the back of that. It's gone.
Was this open when you came here?
The neighbor was here that opened it, and then she shut it, and she went back to her house. Her house is right over there.
Okay.
And then I came back and I opened it to come in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you looked in the house for
I
her?
have, yep.
All right. You looked through everything?
Yes.
You haven't found her?
No.
Okay. All right. What time did you get here?
6 o'clock, and then I went all the way up Frusis because she's road up there, and I just drove the main road, couldn't find her, and then there's a couple spots that I could check, like trails and stuff, but I wanted to come back here to just like check back in and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has she ever gone up 225?
Colorado Trail right there?
Like, you know the big hill once you come off the highway?
Well, she hasn't, and I haven't checked there yet because that climb at the beginning is really hard.
Yeah. And
I think that it would be out of characteristic for her to do that, but I mean, someone needs to go there, I think.
Why would you say it was like on camera?
Well, because it's kind of a crazy,
it's
kind of a crazy climb to get up there.
All
It's
right.
like not really rideable. You got to push your bike before you can start riding.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you have a driver's license on you?
Yeah. It's in my truck, and here's my dad pulling up.
That's your dad?
That's my dad right there.
Okay.
So look, it's odd that her car is still in the garage. You hear her daughter's boyfriend saying that she usually takes it when she goes mountain biking, and there was no sign of forced entry. There were no broken windows in the house. So at this point, she's a missing person. All of this is just odd. Deputies went out searching for Suzanne, and eventually they track her bike down. It was less than a mile from her home. But an interesting part of that was her helmet was 0.8 miles from her bike.
Suzanne? Maybe see if you can get that up to the road and then check the serial number or call the husband and see what kind of bike she has. Somebody chippy, buddy. Can you try to call the husband and see what type of bike she has? Right now I'm staring at a Santa Cruz, blue in color.
Well, dude, I started that.
Yeah, because the rim's not going to... I'm just looking at the rim. It's not bent.
What is it? Form clear on Kev. That's a big warning.
I guess maybe you're careful where you're talking to, just stay on there. Try not to touch it too much in case like someone could be awful. You know what I mean? Yeah. Something's up with this front tire. So. Said something's up with this front tire.
This is where Barry Morphew enters this story for law enforcement. Deputies call Suzanne's husband when they find this bike. And Barry, he worked in construction, kind of a landscaping job, and he had left early that morning to go to the Denver area, which is more than 2 hours away, for a job. And he told deputies that Suzanne was sleeping when he left, which was around 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, he was also working all day, he said, so he didn't plan on talking to his wife, but then he gets a call from neighbors who are concerned that Suzanne was missing. So this is more body cam video here. This is deputies' first interactions with Barry Morphew when he made it back to the Salida area. And I want you to listen closely to what Barry says.
Where is it? Where's the bike?
Oh, it's right there.
Where was it?
It was like just right down here in this little embankment right here. So, sorry, GPS dude. We got the husband on scene here with me.
I'm here with my daughter. She's at Harry's
Oh,
house.
okay. All right, yeah, you can go down there.
Was it a crash?
I mean, the bike looked, the way it was laying, it kind of looked like it, but there's not really that much damage to the bike. That's the thing.
Lion?
Yeah, it was just like
Was
lying.
it no lion? Mountain
I didn't see anything that would
I didn't see
indicate,
anything, and they're not letting us go over the side
because we're getting
because the
attracted
dogs are bringing dogs
Where'd you
in.
find her bike? Right
just
here?
right down in here.
Now, many have pointed out just how quick Barry was to say, was it a mountain lion? Maybe that was a red flag in this case. That seems like a huge leap from a missing person to, if they've been harmed, that it would be a mountain lion that would go get Suzanne. Now, the deputy asks Barry about his day.
She bikes every day, yeah.
Okay.
She's going to bike when she gets up.
So she was asleep in the bed when you left. Did you say bye to her or anything?
No, she sounds asleep.
Okay.
Always leave it.
So the last time you probably actually saw her was this morning. That was it, right?
Yeah, I've been in Bootsville. I got a big job up there. I've been there all day working. I'm sorry, you need to calm down.
No, it's all good, man. We're doing the best. We got
Did
a
they
lot of
check
people
the house?
coming.
Did they,
Yeah.
they
we got,
look through the house?
yeah, they got the house. So what we're doing is we're keeping people out of the house because if the dog comes, they want to get a scent from out of the house.
Yeah.
So they don't want to pollute that scent. So that way we can start trying. And I walked up this. Like I said, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Nothing looked like.
I wonder if she was hurt, if she could climb up the hill.
But that's the thing. When we came here, still was daylight, right? So if she was right here, somebody would have easily, you know what I mean? Just because it was like literally like right down. It was this. I mean, if we saw it coming in, somebody would have definitely seen it too, you know?
So Barry seems emotional, and look, any husband in that situation would be emotional. You don't know where your wife and mother of your children is right now. She's been missing for hours in the Colorado wilderness. And Barry brings up mountain lions again.
Hey, Barry, besides, I know the bike was here, but what are some of the paths that, or like the trails? Like
She rides this road. She rides up to the top, and then she goes up to Flus's.
Okay,
There's no snow. She'll go up high on Flus's. She's went down this one a couple of times.
Down this one here too?
Yeah.
Okay. So double check Flus's over there too, because I think was it Miles? I think Miles. Yeah, I know. We just want to double check everything. So yeah.
Did anybody look for foot tracks on the road?
I haven't seen anything really, but
Like people tracks? We're lying.
I didn't really notice, but I won't lie, I'm not like an expert tracker or something, you know. Yeah, so my partner is actually the one that saw and picked it up, but it was like the top of it was weird because it feels like the top of the bike was like up this way.
So maybe flipped.
Maybe, I don't know, man.
Now, the deputy who has been talking to Barry, he's been playing it pretty cool. He doesn't come off at this point that he's suspicious of Suzanne's husband, but he does go over and talk to his colleagues. And I want you to watch this part because off in the distance, you can see that Barry tries to go touch the bike.
What's the thing about 4 o'clock in the morning? Was that somebody on the phone? 5 o'clock. Oh, yeah, so we pinged the phone and it said the last activity was at 4 in the morning.
Up here?
It's off of the Ponce Tower. So there's not any specific coordinate. Hey, could you not touch the bike with your hands, please?
Hey guys!
That's the husband. Because I've been wearing gloves. I've been trying not to. So.
Law enforcement has to consider everyone involved. And you do hear that kind of subtle sense of suspicion in their voices when they're talking about Barry and how he's acting. They then get Barry to come with them back to his house. And that's where investigators would find some pretty significant evidence.
And sir, when we go inside, let's just go directly to where something that she's worn today. And let's not touch anything just for in case.
Okay. Is this unlocked?
Yes.
Which way would that be? This way?
Anything down there?
These are all hers right here.
Yeah.
Have you got a plastic bag? Yeah. Or a paper bag?
It says sports bra is probably good. I mean, it's direct contact with the skin. No, we should just be fine with one.
How do you turn on the exterior lights? Which light switch is it? All of them do?
Yes, you want secure.
Alright, thank you. Hey, Anthony. Can I speak to you over there once we get back?
So the deputies grabbed some shorts from the house and they put them in a plastic bag and they have Barry walk away from the home. But listen to this moment here and what the deputies seem to say to each other about possibly those shorts meaning something more than just being an article of clothing that belonged to Suzanne.
What you grabbed, right? Those shorts? Yeah. Those are for mountain biking. Yeah. Like the padded shorts you would wear when you go mountain biking. Yeah. So, that, I'm curious.
Yeah, I saw that.
That they were bike shorts. Yeah.
The deputy had mountain biking shorts in his hands in that bag. And it's the kind of shorts that someone would wear when they go mountain biking. So why would the shorts be at home and not with Suzanne, who went out for a ride that day? Now, obviously, she could have more than one pair of biking shorts, but it's definitely something, you just hear the tone of deputies that they just seem to be getting suspicious of Barry Morphew. So let's talk about Barry that day and where he reportedly went before Suzanne allegedly went missing. So he said he was on a work trip. He said that he left early that morning before daybreak, but investigators, they talked to his coworker, and this is where things kind of get weird because that coworker said they weren't supposed to be up near Denver until Sunday night. And the employee and Barry were actually supposed to ride together, but Barry, just on his own, decided to get up early that morning and leave around 5 o'clock. The coworker then said when he finally got up to Denver, Barry hadn't brought any of the tools they needed for this job, and none of the work hours after he had arrived in Denver had been done. Now, after looking at surveillance cameras, deputies say that Barry Morphew spent less than a half hour at the job site. He spent the day driving around town, allegedly 2.5 hours from his house, and authorities alleged that he was driving around dropping off items in trash cans. Then there was a hotel where Barry and this coworker were going to stay. And back in 2020, that coworker, he tells the Daily Mail that he goes to the hotel room where Barry was staying, and there was the smell of chlorine, which the hotel staff says is odd because first off, they don't got a pool at this hotel, like one of those indoor pools that just stink up the entire place with chlorine. But also the cleaning staff allegedly said they don't use chlorine to clean the rooms. So why would it be there? And remember, we're now in 2026. That chlorine could really be a chilling clue. Now, when we look at pictures of the Morphews, it's cliche in true crime stories to say they looked like a perfect family. But frankly, you look at these pictures and it appears that this was a couple that loved each other. They were living the dream. They're in this beautiful part of the country. You saw them when they searched the home with Barry. I mean, that house looks awesome. Barry told investigators he had a great marriage with Suzanne. That allegedly, according to law enforcement, was a lie. So I want to go back to the body cam video we have from the day that Suzanne was called in missing. And deputies are talking to the boyfriend of one of the Morphew's daughters and his dad. And the deputy asks about the Morphew's marriage. And this is what the boyfriend of one of their daughters said.
I know this is a weird question, but do Barry and Suzanne get along pretty well?
You can answer honestly.
You know, I think they've had some problems.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past.
Like, just normal...
Normal husband and wife type deal.
Oh, they, like, talk about separating or anything
they
like
have,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
I would, yeah.
And you know this through
Macy.
Yeah, I'm
Macy.
very close with her.
Yeah, it's
daughter.
important that you, at this
I know,
point,
I
you
know,
tell
I
them
know.
anything that
Yeah.
you know, like that.
Yeah, and he is in Denver for a work job. He's a landscaper, and he's got a big job in Denver. So that's where he is at right now.
Okay. And Macy and the older sister Mallory are on a road trip. Where are they?
Now, eventually, law enforcement would get cell phone records. And those records would lay out some of the problems in text messages that the Morphews were allegedly having. Investigators reportedly found that Barry had allegedly deleted a text chain with his wife that included a screenshot of a message from Suzanne, which read, quote, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." According to investigators, Suzanne was having an affair with someone who lived away from Colorado. The truth is, when you look at the text messages, this wasn't a happy marriage like Barry had allegedly told investigators. This was a marriage that was crumbling. And now, if you're an investigator and you're trying to figure out what happened here, whether this woman went missing under foul play circumstances, you might just have a motive. Now, while investigators are figuring that out, Barry was not hiding from the public. He, in fact, was going in front of cameras. He was calling for tips. He was pleading to the public for information that could bring his wife home.
Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back.
So cell phones are really important in this case because they don't just reveal some text messages showing a failing marriage. Investigators say cell phones showed a lot more. So Barry Morphew appears to have allegedly turned off his cell phone on May 9th at 2:47 p.m. He then turns it back on at 10:17 p.m. Now, May 9th is the day before Suzanne was reported missing. Suzanne's electronics showed her last activity to be around 2:11 in the afternoon. Barry's phone then turns off around 4:37 in the morning the next day before it turns back on again at 5:37 when he was headed toward Denver for that supposed work trip. Data from Barry's truck also allegedly shows some pretty odd activity, like 3:25 in the morning to 3:49 in the morning on May 10th. That's when Barry said he was sleeping. Investigators noted that Barry's phone showed it pinging around the house at the times that it was on during that 2 o'clock hour in the afternoon on May 9th. This is an image of what was presented as evidence. Barry said that he was chasing chipmunks around the house with a gun while Suzanne was sunbathing. Now, you also have this evidence that very much ties into what Barry is now facing. Look at this. This is a needle cap, and it goes to a tranquilizer dart that authorities found in the dryer, which they believe came from Barry's clothes. Investigators arrested Barry back in 2021, and they believed what really happened was Barry shot Suzanne with a tranquilizer gun, then chased her around the house until she passed out. Then he allegedly killed her and disposed of her body. The daughter who lived at their house was also out of town the weekend that all of this allegedly happened. Then their other daughter was in college, so she wasn't home either. So you hear all of that. And again, we're back 2021, 2022 at this point. And for as sketchy as you may describe Barry's activities around the time that Suzanne disappeared, let's face it, this was a circumstantial case. We didn't know what happened to Suzanne. There was a lot of evidence that pointed investigators in the direction of Barry Morphew, but at this point, it was still a big mystery. They didn't have Suzanne's body. And the charges that Barry was facing initially when he was arrested after Suzanne's alleged murders, they didn't stick, but this is very important. They didn't stick, and it wasn't because of a lack of evidence. In April of 2022, right before Barry was set to go on trial for murder, prosecutors said they could not go forward with a trial, and they asked for charges to be dropped because it turns out the district attorney didn't turn over evidence to the defense, and several of the state's witnesses were barred from testifying. And that district attorney, her name is Linda Stanley, she ended up getting disbarred over it, and Barry walked free. But the judge did say that prosecutors could one day refile charges. So at that point in time, you have Barry Morphew. He's not facing charges. He's free to go. And it was unclear what happened to Suzanne. It was unclear if Barry was ever going to face charges again. Everything would change in a big way in this story, September 22nd, 2023. That is the day that Suzanne Morphew's body was found in a shallow grave a few hundred feet off a road. Investigators say the majority of her bones were recovered, but they were significantly bleached. Now, bleached could mean a couple of different things. We regularly have Joseph Scott Morgan on this show. He's a former medical examiner, really one of the biggest names when it comes to being a death investigator that's out there in the world of true crime. And we talked on a previous episode about this, and he said that bones could be bleached because of sun exposure, but you also think about that clue that the Daily Mail reported on with that coworker at the hotel back up near Denver. That chlorine smell in the hotel room. Could Barry have tried to allegedly cover up an alleged crime using bleach? We're still waiting to learn more from prosecutors on that part of it. Now, along with her bones, deputies say that they found a cancer port with Suzanne, which is how patients receive medicine like an IV, as well as the bike clothes that she was known to wear. So the indictment that Barry is now facing claims to show that the clothing lacked evidence of decomposition, which they believe means she was not wearing those clothes at the time that her body decomposed. And there was a lack of evidence suggesting where she was found was the original grave site where she decomposed. Quote, the forensic anthropologist opined that based on these factors, it was unlikely Suzanne decomposed from a fresh body to a skeleton at this location, end quote. Now that, again, huge development in this case back in 2023. But now as we look at the indictment that Barry Morphew is now facing, there may be a smoking gun, figuratively speaking, in this case. And it is a tranquilizer chemical cocktail called BAM. BAM. The autopsy found its presence in Suzanne's remains. It is a tranquilizer that is often used on animals. Now, remember, in the initial case that Barry Morphew faced, the narrative that prosecutors were allegedly going to go with was that Barry used a tranquilizer on Suzanne. This now seems to potentially bolster that argument. This next part, frankly, made my jaw drop when I read it for the first time. Because back in 2020, when Suzanne allegedly was murdered, there was only one company in the US that produced that chemical mixture, BAM. And someone could only get it if they had a prescription from a veterinarian. Now, it's important to note that the Morphews moved to Colorado from Indiana back in 2018. And back then, Barry worked as a deer farmer, according to the indictment. And he bought BAM in 2018 before they moved to Colorado. Investigators looked to see who else in the surrounding counties had purchased BAM. And this part is the jaw-dropping part. Quote, records further showed that no other private citizens or private businesses in any of the surrounding counties had purchased BAM prescriptions from 2017 to 2020. Other than the local park services, Barry Morphew was the only one known to have the substance found in his wife's remains. And in bold letters, prosecutors write, ultimately, the prescription records show that when Suzanne Morphew disappeared, only one private citizen living in that entire area of the state had access to BAM, Barry Morphew. A grand jury indicted Barry Morphew for the alleged murder of his wife, Suzanne. And now we're learning about what the months leading up to Barry's arrest looked like. KMGH TV out of Denver has the new court records that show that in February of 2025, which is months before Barry was arrested in June, Colorado law enforcement reached out to their counterparts in Arizona, and they asked for help tracking someone who was living in their state, and that was Barry Morphew. And they even got a warrant that allowed them to put a GPS tracker on Barry's car. Now, Barry, as far as his personal life, he had reportedly started somewhat of a new life in Arizona, a clean slate in a way, because those charges had been dropped. He was actually living with a woman at the time of his arrest in June of 2025. He was taken into custody at a traffic stop, and this is video of his intake at the local sheriff's office. Now, an interesting twist is that the woman who he was living with allegedly told investigators that Barry told her that his name was something other than Barry. He was going by Lee Moore. But she said 5 days before he was arrested, Barry allegedly unveiled to her what his real name was. And he also told her that his wife had been abducted in Colorado. Now, had Barry given her his real name, simple Google search obviously would have brought up who he was and what he was once accused of. So maybe he wanted to hide that part of his life. Might be kind of a deal breaker when it comes to starting a relationship if she knew that about him. But then on the other hand, the woman told police that she met Barry in December of 2024 and they moved in together in May of 2025. So why did he allegedly come clean to her about his real name only 5 days before his arrest? Now, when Barry made it back to Colorado, he appeared in court. This was back in 2025 after his arrest. And when he made it back to Colorado, he flashed a big smile to someone in the audience. Now, at least one of his daughters has remained by his side, standing by their dad throughout the entirety of the investigation into the death of Suzanne, and it's believed that it was one of the daughters who he was smiling at. Now, most murder defendants are not allowed to wait for their trial outside of a jail cell. But this time around, Barry Morphew was able to post bond. Initially, the judge in this case set Morphew's bond at $3 million cash only. That's really hard to meet. But then the bond was switched to a surety bond last fall, and that opened the door for Barry to get out of jail, which he was able to do weeks later in September. He is currently on electronic monitoring right now, and we just learned how long it could be until we see Barry Morphew go on trial. Barry appeared virtually in Colorado court this week. Morphew initially was going to go on trial in October of this year, but his defense team wants more time. They asked for a continuance because of just the mountain of evidence they say they need to go over in this case. Now, the prosecution did push back on that. They cited Suzanne's siblings, who are concerned that Barry is a flight risk. They're also concerned about scheduling. They say they already had plans to be in Colorado for this trial, no matter how long it goes in October. And then they just also talked about the anguish of dealing with this as it continues to go on and on. The judge sided with the defense, and now Barry's trial may not start until the middle or summer of 2027. And attorneys are going back to court next month to go over when this trial could actually begin. That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law&Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify, and we are also streaming on Peacock. I'm Chris Stewart. See you next time.